we started the show by talking about the Ravens. Let's talk about the Bengals here a little bit, because we would be talking about Joe Burrow for most valuable player in this league if they had the same record as the Ravens right now, and if they had swept the Ravens this year instead of it being the other way around.
Facts.
Instead of them being 0-3 to start the season, if they somehow had come out of the box a little stronger, had they somehow realized, hey, maybe we should have paid Ja'Marr Chase early on and get him into training camp right away, as opposed to just letting him play out the season and putting that chip on his shoulder that he took off his shoulder and smacked the Ravens over the head twice with, but it wasn't enough. Again, that we would be talking about Joe Burrow in that regard, and maybe even Ja'Marr Chase for Offensive Player of the Year in that regard. But the Bengals are a little bit more of a flawed team than the Ravens. Defensively, they are a team that can be had, even though they've got the sack leader in Trey Hendrickson right up front. And the difference between the Bengals having a shot at this division and not can be summed up in the two losses to the Ravens, where they got more than enough from Joe Burrow and got more than enough from Ja'Marr Chase, but there were just enough mistakes here and there, whether it was the interception that Burrow threw in the first opportunity, whether it was that missed field goal in overtime, despite getting a gift fumble from Lamar Jackson in overtime of that game and not cashing that in, having Derrick Henry run it right down the field and Justin Tucker making the bunny to win that early regular season game. If they had gotten that field goal, if they had not had the ball ripped out of Chase Brown's hand last night, if they were able to make a defensive stop in the fourth quarter that they could not make, if they were able to prevent the Ravens from scoring touchdowns on their last 4 possessions of the game, they would be, instead of 4-6, 6-4, and the Ravens, instead of being 7-3, would be 5-5. They'd be a 500 team. And this conversation would be a completely different conversation than the one that we're having right now, but it's not a sliding doors situation. And a quarterback who in his 2 games against the Ravens,
yeah, these stats are crazy,
threw for 820 yards with 9 touchdowns and 1 interception and a passer rating of 121.4, and a wide receiver who has just set the record for most receiving yards against a single opponent in the history of the NFL that had been standing since Art Powell did it for the Oakland Raiders against the Houston Oilers back in 1963.
Wow.
That's the record that Ja'Marr Chase broke last night with his remarkable evening of 264 receiving yards, 212 of them in the second half, to give him 457 yards against the Ravens in the 2 games this year.
What?
That's the team that is left sending their MVP-type quarterback to the podium to be left wondering what more blood could be taken from the stone.
You look at how we're playing, and then, you know, you look at Trey Hendrickson, how he's playing. Yeah, it's tough pill to swallow. But we've had our opportunities. Obviously, you know, it's tough when you feel like you're playing well enough to win and you're not, but there's always more to do.
No answers, basically, is what he's saying. There's just no answers for it.
He's frustrated.
I feel for the guy, man. He's, like you said, if records were flipped, even if they win one of those games, maybe don't lose week 1, New England, they're 6-4, we're still talking about Joe for MVP. He's got 24 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. That is unbelievable. 2,700 yards. He's just lighting it up. Can't catch a break.
I don't have a problem with the 2-point conversion attempt at all. I think that's where you should go for it.
Well, you're on the road. The defense can't stop them. Lamar's clearly on a heater, like we talked about.
The 2 previous coaches who had this opportunity, had this question placed in front of them. Gerard Mayo in Tennessee last week, and even more recently, Todd Bowles in Kansas City last Monday night. Kicked the extra point, went to overtime, lost the game. And this team, again, just to reiterate, Lamar Jackson's unstoppability right now. This team was getting lit up like the proverbial can of gas when the Ravens scored 28 in the second half after scoring just 7 in their first. And they scored a touchdown in their final 4 possessions of the game and came back from a 14-point deficit in so doing. And you respond on occasion when the Ravens are hitting you back in the mouth with an 80-yard touchdown pass to Jamar Chase. A 70-yard touchdown pass to Jamar Chase and just one play to basically tie the game up at 28. And then you watch Lamar march the players down the field, his team, on an 11-play, 70-yard drive that took up damn near 4 minutes of time to score with 1:49 to go, where Rashad Bateman had a touchdown grab. And you march down the field, and you have an opportunity to go for 2 because you've just stunned them again with what that throw to Jamar Chase to put it in the end zone.
Over 2
Just showed you how on point Joe Burrow was at that point in time. Feet down, over 2 guys. I don't even know how the hell he saw him, other than the fact he's just like, oh, that's number 1. I'm just going to throw it to him, and he's going to catch it.
Exactly.
Yes, you should go for 2. And there were a couple penalties that could have been called on that 2-point conversion. Mike Gesicki sure looked like he was held, and it sure looked like Joe Burrow took one in the chops. Now, you could have thrown the flag right there. It wasn't. And I guess you got to play better than the ref's ref or what have you. But I don't mind the call. I thought it was an excellent try. I think it's Zach Taylor also showing I've got the confidence to do it. I've got the confidence in my team to do it. Of course, he's not going to sit here and say I don't have the confidence in my defense to stop. Because you did leave enough time left on the clock for them to march down the field close enough for Justin Tucker to take one swipe of the leg to avoid overtime as well. But I don't mind that try at all. No. I think that's when you need to go for a 2-point conversion. We talked about this on our show on Tuesday when you guys had already left.
Yeah.
There are different times for 2-point conversions. There are times when you need, have to, or want to.
What did you say about Todd Bowles?
I said you need to do it.
Yeah. I wish Gerard Mayo would have done it,
or
too.
you have to do it. How about that? You have to do it. Yeah. I think you have to do it. You just stunned them at the end of the game. You just stunned the Kansas City Chiefs in their house at the end of the game with a stone's drive. You have just got them on their heels. Right. They might even be pulling down on their hanging out on their knees a little bit. Hit them one more time. Yeah. And certainly in New England in Tennessee, they had Drake May running around for like damn near as long as Jaden Daniels did on his Hail Mary.
Yeah.
And that was, kind of a Hail Mary too. He flipped it up in the air. I don't even know how the hell that was a completed pass.
No idea.
But Tennessee's defense had just been running around for 10 seconds as much as long as everyone else was. Hit him with the 2-point conversion there. And I think, again, there's different times to go for a 2-point conversion. You want to do it. You need to do it. You have to do it. You want to do it is those times where I don't get it, where you have an opportunity to be down 7 with 8-9 minutes to go, and you go for 2 because you have an opportunity to score again, then you know you got to score again. Instead of tying, you win it. So I want to go for 2. That way I'll know if I need to go for 2 later on in the game. Or you need to go for 2 when you're down 16 and you score. You need to go so it's still make it a 1-score game. The have-tos are obviously when you score and you have to go for 2 to tie the game at the very end. I would put in this category, you have to go for 2 instead of going into overtime on the road. I think you have to do it. And I give Zach Taylor all the kudos in the world for doing it. I think we have the coach after the game. This is what he had to say on that front.
I mean, there was a time situation where there's probably a little too, over. I can't get into specifics, but there's a chance maybe you get a 3-and-out, you get the ball back if you just tied it, and you can go kick a game-winning field goal. But didn't feel like we were going to get the ball again.
Right? Didn't feel like going to get the ball again.
No, and they weren't going to stop them either. This goes all the way back to week 1. I mean, Isaiah Likely's big toe is in bounds, John Harbaugh had said they were going for 2.
Yeah.
So that's the guy on the other side of the field who does take these chances as well and is willing to put his team in those positions. So, you got to see Cincinnati, I credit to them. Hats off. They went for it. In a tough road game like that, division game they have to have. You got to take those chances.
My only problem with the play, Jamar Chase is on fire.
Yeah.
He's single covered. I would have loved to have just seen Joe try to get the ball to Chase. He was your playmaker. He was hot. He was Steph in the fourth. Let's try to get him the ball.
Jump ball, some type of one-on-one scenario to Chase.
That was the only problem I had with
Well, interestingly enough, our crack staff and crew has Jamar Chase's response to that ready.
Yeah, I always feel like that as a receiver, you should want the ball, yes, but sometimes Joe don't see it.
What did you think of the decision to go for 2? Is that what you expected?
Say it again.
What did you think of the decision to go for 2? Is that what you expected?
Yeah, hell yeah, I agree 100%.
Were you open on the 2-point conversion?
Yeah, I'm always open.
I love this guy. I mean,
Are we going to pay him now?
Let me just
is
say
now
this.
the good time to pay him?
let me say this.
What are we waiting for?
Most receiving touchdowns of 60 or more yards. Jamar Chase, before the age of 25, leads the entire list in the history of the National Football League
Wow.
with 12 now.
Whew. Deshaun Jackson, Randy
Chicago's
Moss.
Harlan Hill had 10.
Okay.
Odell Beckham Jr. had 9. Randy Moss and Tyreek Hill with 7 apiece.
Randy had all his against the Cowboys, I think.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I mean, the one though, where obviously that 70-yarder was kind of stunning because the Ravens had just taken the lead, 28-21, and then boom, right back. Here comes Jamar Chase right off the
he's
bat,
done
and
that
he
a
just
few
blew.
times this year.
The one though that really got me to actually audibly say something while it was happening was the 67-yarder. Where he caught it over the middle.
Yeah.
And I think everybody just, if you have a second, take a look at that highlight. He catches it over the middle. Mm-hmm. There are 4 or 5. I saw 4.
I
but it might be
I
a
took a
fifth. There
screenshot
might be a
of it.
fifth at the very top right of your screen.
I know, yeah.
There were 5, I'll say what you said then, 5 Ravens defenders. He ran through them, past them, and gone.
Gone.
He has a gear that few others have. And I don't know, man. And by the way, they did this without T. Higgins last night too. I'm not going to quit on him. How about that? I'm just still not going to quit on this team.
We talked about Joe Burrow. The record was flip. He'd be MVP. Record flip. We're talking about Jamar Chase as Offensive Player of the Year.
Dude.
He has almost 1,000 yards.
10 touchdowns.
Leads the NFL in touchdowns. Yards per catch. The dude's on fire.
All right, call up their schedule, and then we'll throw it a break because Raheem Morris of the Falcons is about to join us. Let me tell you that you take a look at the Cincinnati schedule. Next up is at the Chargers on a Sunday night, so they're going to be in front of the whole country again. That's not easy. The Chargers defense is really effing good. Then they're on a bye. Let's get them all healthy. Home for Pittsburgh, at Dallas on a Monday night, which by the way has an asterisk next to it, which means ESPN could flex out of that. ESPN and ABC have the opportunity to flex. I don't know what they'd be able to flex into, but Cincinnati at Dallas, that's a winnable game right there for them. Then they're at Tennessee. That's winnable. They're home for Cleveland on a Thursday night. Enough's enough with this whole they have our number thing, okay?
Yep.
Then they're taking on Denver on a week 17 Saturday. And then they're at Pittsburgh. Tell me why they can't run the table.
They really needed that last night. That would have been 4 to 5 wins, 500.
I can see
So let's say-
I see 5 wins
Okay,
for sure. The Pittsburgh.
that gives them 9.
Yeah.
That gives them 9, right? That's not enough? In the AFC, that's not enough. What if they beat Denver? That Denver's one of the
Okay,
they could catch it.
yep,
They
I like
let's say
that.
they beat Denver and the Chargers as,
I like that.
of those 5 wins.
If they beat both of them, then I think they'll make it.
right?
Winning the games they should. Winning in Dallas, winning in Tennessee, winning against Cleveland.
Right.
Probably splitting with the Steelers.
And if
Right, split the Steelers.
so then you give them those wins against teams that they'd be able to cash in a tiebreak against. I might wind up dying on this hill here with the Bengals. I just can't quit them. I had them winning this division to begin with.
Yeah.
And they're right there, man. They're right there in every
there.
game.
Yeah.
And when push comes to shove, and you're the 2 seed in the AFC, let's say you are Buffalo, you are Houston, you are the winner of the AFC North. You want to see Cincinnati walking into your building in a wild card weekend?
I don't think
No, you
so.
don't. What if the 2 seed winds up being Baltimore, and we see part 3 here?
Whew.
They will be a battle royale amongst the television partners of the National Football League to see who gets that game. And we're talking about a team that's 4-6 right now. I believe in Cincinnati and get T. Higgins back. Let's go. And by the way, whatever pay core is, it'll be pay Chase, right? Or you have you go and you get a deal with Chase,
Bank.
right, and make like some sort of plaza, Chase Plaza at Paycor Stadium,
something
at Pay-Joe Stadium, the Chase Plaza, because it's coming.
What are we waiting for?
We can't avoid it. You're not going to avoid it unless you want to let them walk. And then there's 31 other teams that are willing to pay Chase.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.